Nestled in the heart of the Caribbean, kissed by the sun and caressed by turquoise waters, lies the Dominican Republic. This island nation, sharing its turf with Haiti on the island of Hispaniola, is a place where history comes alive. The Dominican Republic is a land of stunning natural beauty, with its pristine beaches, lush rainforests, and majestic mountains. The turquoise waters that surround the island are home to vibrant coral reefs and diverse marine life, making it a paradise for snorkelers and divers alike. This island nation, sharing its turf with Haiti on the island of Hispaniola, is a place where history comes alive. The Dominican Republic's rich history is a tapestry woven with the threads of indigenous Taino culture, Spanish colonization, African heritage, and the influences of various immigrant communities. We're talking centuries of stories, from ancient tribes to revolutions, dictators to merengue dancers. The Taino people, the island's original inhabitants, left behind a legacy of art, music, and traditions that still resonate today. The arrival of Christopher Columbus in 1492 marked the beginning of a new era, bringing with it Spanish colonization and the establishment of the first European settlement in the Americas. The Dominican Republic is more than just beaches and resorts, although those are pretty sweet. It's a land of contrasts, where the echoes of the past mingle with the rhythm of the present. From the bustling streets of Santo Domingo, the oldest continuously inhabited city in the New World, to the tranquil countryside dotted with sugarcane fields and coffee plantations, there's something for everyone. It's a land of contrasts, where the echoes of the past mingle with the rhythm of the present. The colonial architecture of Santo Domingo stands as a testament to the island's storied past, while the modern skyline reflects its dynamic future. The city's vibrant markets, filled with the sounds of merengue and bachata, offer a sensory feast of colors, flavors, and aromas. Think vibrant cities buzzing with life, lush rainforests hiding ancient secrets, and a people known for their warmth, resilience, and love of a good fiesta. The Dominican Republic's festivals are legendary, with celebrations like Carnival and the Merengue Festival drawing visitors from around the world to experience the island's infectious energy and joie de vivre. But before we dive into the cocktail of cultures that make up this unique nation, let's rewind the clock. Let's journey back to a time when the island was a blank canvas, untouched by European hands, and the Taino people thrived in harmony with nature. Way back, to a time before Columbus set foot on these shores, when the island danced to a different beat. The Taino people, with their rich spiritual beliefs and deep connection to the land, created a society that was both complex and harmonious. Their legacy lives on in the art, music, and traditions that continue to shape the Dominican Republic's cultural identity today. Long before the Europeans even knew this island existed, the Taino people called it home. They weren't exactly on vacation though. These guys were farmers, fishermen, artists, and storytellers, living in harmony with the land. Imagine a life where your biggest worry was catching enough fish for dinner or perfecting your cassava bread recipe. That was the Taino vibe, peaceful and in tune with nature. They were organized into villages ruled by chiefs called caciques, and known for their intricate pottery, elaborate body art, and love of a good game played with a rubber ball. Life wasn't all sunshine and coconuts, of course. They had their share of intertribal squabbles and the occasional hurricane to deal with, but for the most part, life was good. Little did they know, things were about to get a whole lot more complicated. The year was 1492. Christopher Columbus, a guy who apparently thought the earth was flat and that India was just a short sail west, stumbled upon Hispaniola. He was aiming for riches and spices, but instead, he found, well, the Caribbean. Columbus, convinced he'd landed in India, called the natives Indians. Talk about awkward. The Spaniards, with their fancy armor and even fancier ambitions, weren't exactly the best house guests. They were all about gold, God, and glory, and not necessarily in that order. The arrival of the Europeans marked a turning point in the island's history. It wasn't pretty, in fact it was downright brutal. The clash of cultures, the thirst for gold, and the imposition of a new way of life would forever alter the destiny of the island and its people. Section 4. Sugar, Slavery, and Sorrow. Colonialism's Heavy Hand. The Spanish wasted no time in setting up shop. Upon their arrival they quickly established a foothold, driven by the promise of wealth and power. The lush landscapes and fertile soil of Hispaniola were seen as a treasure trove waiting to be exploited. They built settlements, established plantations, and started exporting the island's riches back to Europe. The Spanish crown saw the potential for immense profit, and the island soon became a hub of economic activity. The plantations, particularly those growing sugarcane, became the backbone of the colonial economy. Sugar became the new gold, and Hispaniola transformed into a key player in the transatlantic slave trade. The demand for sugar in Europe was insatiable, and the island's production soared. However, this prosperity came at a tremendous human cost. With the native Taino population decimated by disease and forced labor, the Spanish turned to Africa for manpower. The once thriving Taino communities were reduced to a fraction of their original numbers, victims of brutal exploitation and foreign diseases to which they had no immunity. Millions of Africans were forcibly brought to the island, their lives traded for the sweet taste of sugar that fueled European empires. These men, women, and children were torn from their homelands, subjected to the horrors of the Middle Passage, and forced into a life of grueling labor under inhumane conditions. The colonial period was a time of immense suffering, exploitation, and cultural upheaval. The enslaved Africans endured unimaginable hardships, their lives marked by violence, deprivation, and a constant struggle for survival. The social fabric of the island was forever altered, as cultures clashed and new identities were forged in the crucible of colonialism. But amidst the darkness, seeds of resistance were being sown. The spirit of defiance among the enslaved people grew stronger with each passing year. Acts of rebellion, both small and large, began to take root, challenging the oppressive colonial system and planting the seeds of future liberation. The spirit of the Taino, the resilience of the African slaves, and the yearning for freedom would eventually pave the way for a new chapter in the island's history. The legacy of resistance and the unyielding desire for autonomy would inspire future generations to continue the fight for justice and equality, shaping the Dominican Republic into the nation it is today. Section 5. From Spanish to French New Rulers, same old story. By the 17th century, the Spanish had their hands full with other colonies. Their empire stretched across vast territories, from the Americas to Asia, and managing such a sprawling domain was no easy feat. The Spanish crown was constantly dealing with challenges, from indigenous uprisings to European rivals eager to carve out their own empires. It seems running an empire is a tough gig. The Spanish administrators were often overwhelmed, and resources were stretched thin. This left some of their territories, like the western part of Hispaniola, vulnerable and less tightly controlled. The western part of Hispaniola, with its prime pirate hideouts and untapped potential, caught the eye of the French. Pirates and privateers roamed the Caribbean, and the French saw an opportunity to establish a foothold in this lucrative region. They began to settle in the western part of the island, bringing with them their own ambitions and plans for exploitation. The French, not ones to miss an opportunity, swooped in and claimed their piece of the pie. They established the colony of Saint-Domingue, which would become one of the wealthiest colonies in the Caribbean. The French were determined to make the most of their new territory, and they quickly set about developing it. And guess what? They were just as keen on sugar, slavery, and making a profit as the Spaniards. The French established vast sugar plantations, relying heavily on the brutal system of slavery to maximize their profits. The conditions for enslaved Africans were harsh, and the colony's wealth was built on their suffering. The western part of the island became known as Saint-Domingue, while the east remained under Spanish control. This division created a unique dynamic on the island, with two distinct colonial powers exerting their influence and shaping the lives of the inhabitants in different ways. The island was now like a two-for-one deal on colonialism, with each half experiencing its own brand of European influence. The Spanish and French brought their own cultures, laws, and economic systems, creating a complex and often contentious environment. But change was brewing on the horizon. The colonies were not static, and the winds of change were beginning to blow. Economic pressures, social tensions, and the spread of new ideas were all contributing to a growing sense of unrest. The rumblings of revolution in France would soon echo across the Atlantic, setting the stage for a dramatic shakeup. The ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity were spreading, and the colonies would not remain untouched. The stage was set for a period of profound transformation and upheaval, as the old order faced new challenges and the promise of change loomed large.